Hello and welcome to CTV News Across Canada for Tuesday, August 26th. We've got the top local stories from coast to coast, stories that affect you and the country. Thanks for joining us.
Officers with the Toronto Police Marine Unit and the Canadian Coast Guard spend most of the day searching the water near Bluffers Park for any signs of a missing man. Police say the man, in his 20s, was not wearing a life jacket when he fell off a jet ski around 9:15 last night. A woman on the back of the jet ski was wearing a life jacket. She survived and was rescued by another jet ski nearby.
Both of them, my understanding is, can't swim well, but there's a life jacket in place, and my understanding is the operator had obviously given the life jacket to the female, and then obviously the female was able to live, and unfortunately the male himself obviously weren't able to swim as a result of this tragedy that occurred, and unfortunately we're still looking for him.
The lake was dark at the time. It's believed they were thrown from the jet ski after hitting a wave. The jet ski was rented from a local operator. Police say any details regarding the number of life jackets provided and proper licensing will be part of the police investigation.
I'm sure we'll discover as we move along in terms of the nature of this, how the rental will come into play.
Meanwhile, beachgoers today looked on as boats and a helicopter searched for the missing man.
You're right, doing recreational stuff, and things can just turn for the worst.
Well, it's really sad. I mean, it's a very protected beach, as you can see. Normally people just come here to have some fun, so I guess I'm really surprised of the situation as well.
Police began the search last night. The victim's family was waiting in a nearby parking lot for any news from police. At this point, it appears to be a recovery operation, considering how many hours have passed since the incident happened last night. And we did see a helicopter about a half hour ago going up and down the shoreline. No boats at the moment, so we're not sure what the progress is on this search and if it's been called for the day. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. You couldn't see or smell the smoke on Highway 117, but that doesn't mean people living in the area are not worried about wildfires.
We're very concerned, yes. We have a lot of people stopping in here that they're on their way because they just got their evacuation notice, and yeah, very concerned, everyone is.
The province issued an evacuation advisory from Black River Bridge to Little Branch on Sunday, urging people to be prepared to leave their homes on 24 hours notice. Some were getting loved ones ready to go just in case.
Yeah, obviously some big concerns. I'm actually up here to make sure that she's, not all the way ready. We're not loading up a trailer yet or anything like that, but packing up the valuables and sentimentals.
There was a sense of relief in Point Sapana this morning, which is located roughly 30 minutes southeast of here. An evacuation advisory for that community was lifted this morning. Smoke was clearly visible in this coastal community a day after an evacuation notice was given for residents living within 2 kilometers of Daig Road, which includes this man.
Last 24 hours has been hectic for the elderly.
A peat moss fire at the end of the road had people here on edge, mainly because of yesterday's high winds.
Probably a lot of them didn't sleep last night until today they found out that the fire has been contained, and now they're starting to relax a little bit.
More good news, the area did receive some much-needed rain for about 30 minutes today. Derek Haggett, CTV News, near Miramichi.
What started as a jump off this bridge at an Elora park ended in tragedy Sunday night.
This is not a man-made lazy river, if you will. There are real hazards.
Ontario Provincial Police say emergency services were called to the Bissell Park Bridge around 6:30 Sunday to search for a missing person in the Grand River.
The lone male entered onto the bridge and jumped into the water. Unknown reason why, but that's all we know at this time.
OPP, paramedics, and Centre Wellington Fire Rescue searched the water. Firefighters eventually pulled the man from the river.
She was found several meters, if not a certain distance, far away from the original location of the bridge. Despite life-saving efforts, unfortunately, a 29-year-old male from Brampton was pronounced deceased at the scene. The Office of the Chief Coroner attended the scene and later determined the death was deemed to be as non-suspicious.
This stretch of the river has a low-head dam. The Grand River Conservation Authority has buoys in place, letting the public know what danger lies ahead. Posted signs nearby also warning against swimming or jumping.
This part of the river can become unpredictable as far as flows and how quickly the water is moving.
It's the second fatal drowning in Elora this summer. Back in June, a 24-year-old man died after being pulled from the Elora quarry, a tragedy that prompted warnings about the hidden dangers of swimming in unsupervised waters.
We've seen a tremendous influx of people that are visiting our area, and when they visit the area, they start to take advantage of what we have to offer. The river is one, the quarry is another. They overestimate their confidence in the water, and they get themselves into trouble, and it only takes moments to slip under the water unnoticed.
The Life Saving Society of Ontario says drownings are on the rise this summer across the province. Most victims young adults, and most in unsupervised areas.
We're almost up into the 70s this year, and we were probably about 11 or 12 less last year.
Safety officials and first responders alike stressing the warnings are there for a reason.
We need to always be with someone else. We need to make sure we know how to swim. We need to have the right safety equipment on hand and swim in lifeguard supervised settings.
Adhere to the buoys that are in the river that's saying do not come past this point. We do have a low-head dam here that is extremely dangerous if you get close to it, and it's very difficult to get out of a situation if you're caught in that dam.
The Life Saving Society of Ontario says drownings can happen within just seconds, no matter the depth of the water. They're urging everyone to take extra caution when out on bodies of water as summer winds down. Tony.
CTV's Hannah Schmidt with details on that tragedy in Elora. Hannah, thank you for that.
The cancellation of Ottawa's Pride Parade is still on the mind of Julia Davids.
Just to see that they had to cancel thousands of people's performances was a little bit heartbreaking.
The parade stopped in its tracks in front of Parliament Hill on Sunday by the organization Queers for Palestine. Protesters issuing a list of demands to Capitol Pride and asking for an apology from Mayor Mark Sutcliffe after he, along with several organizations and groups, boycotted the parade last year because of Capitol Pride's pro-Palestinian statement.
There is a clear message being sent from a massive amount of our queer community in Ottawa that our values are pro-Palestinian, that we do stand in solidarity. The mayor choosing to selectively be an ally is not how allyship works.
This year, the pro-Palestinian statement was removed from Capitol Pride's website, sparking more controversy. The mayor calling Sunday's protest inappropriate.
I don't think we should ever be in a situation where someone can block an event or a parade, especially Capitol Pride, make a bunch of demands, and unless those demands are met, then the parade or the event doesn't go ahead. Because what's the list of demands going to be next time?
Capitol Pride did not respond to CTV Ottawa's request for comment, but issued a statement on social media Sunday evening about the cancellation of the parade, writing after over an hour of attempting to resolve the stoppage, it became clear that Queers for Palestine was unwilling to engage in a good faith conversation and was insistent of misrepresenting our discussions.
We were already leaving, so I guess it's their call to do what they will with the parade that we had already agreed to leave.
For Davids, she says she understands why the protest happened, but says it still hurts knowing so many people in the community were affected.
This was a community organization that was part of the Pride Parade, so it's not like it was a separate group coming in and crashing the parade. It's still a shame because the queer community has been preparing for this for so long and so much investment has gone into it.
Sutcliffe also added that it is up to Capitol Pride to make sure they can deliver an event that everyone can participate in. Patricia.
All right, CTV's Josh Morano live for us tonight. Thank you, Josh.
It's back to school shopping season, but families are anxious to see if the start of school will go ahead as scheduled, with no labor contract between teachers and the government.
It's concerning. We're going to keep an eye on things and see how things go, but we can just prepare for the worst and hopefully it doesn't go that long.
By nearly 95%, Alberta teachers voted overwhelmingly in favor of a strike mandate in June. That gives them until October 7th to initiate job action, but they could be locked out as early as Friday with a vote by the Teachers Employer Bargaining Association.
It all
all stems back to the chronic underfunding of the education system that we see. Large classrooms, a lack of resources. We need more teachers. We need more teacher counselors. We need more supports for mental health purposes.
According to the Alberta Teachers Association, Alberta ranks the lowest among all provinces for funding per student. Teachers also want wages that keep pace with inflation. The Premier acknowledges the need for more supports for children with complex needs and to deal with aggressive behavior in the classroom, but she says funding is adequate. Danielle Smith has asked her education minister to determine where the dollars are going.
A lot of the issues at the heart of that is the management of the classroom, which we've delegated to school boards. So if we have to be a bit more hands-on, then we'll take a closer look at it.
But Medina Musa with the advocacy group Support Our Students says the Premier is deflecting blame.
I think that is the Premier trying to pass the buck here when really the responsibility of underfunding our schools lies with her government.
Bargaining resumes Tuesday, but Calgary's public and Catholic school boards say they're monitoring the situation, with Catholic schools warning families to have a backup plan for childcare.
Myself, we're fortunate enough. My wife is home with them, so I know that everyone is in that position, so hopefully it doesn't last long for the people who are not.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
The business of City Council is meant to take place in public. In fact, the Vancouver Charter mandates it. A new report from the city's Integrity Commissioner has found Mayor Ken Sim and his ABC colleagues have been predetermining council business out of the public eye.
They don't believe that those rules apply to them. And that is a fundamental problem.
In his complaint, Green Party councillor Pete Fry alleged it happened 6 different times. The Integrity Commissioner found wrongdoing on the part of ABC in 2 instances. In one email thread, councillor Brian Montague asks just a clarification. Moving A and supporting with D amended, but are we voting down B?
If those of ABC amendments are actually being preconceived and thought out ahead of time to appear to be spontaneously, that gives everything a more feeling of almost subterfuge, trying to pull a fast one on the voting public.
The commissioner says gathering evidence was difficult because the mayor and ABC councillors often use personal emails to discuss city business and have a Signal group chat which auto-deletes messages. In a statement, the mayor says, "We respect the role of the Integrity Commissioner, but we strongly disagree with elements of this report." He went on to say caucus meetings are a normal practice. In an email, a staffer in the mayor's office tells CTV News the complaint will ultimately cost taxpayers $200,000. Fry believes that's for ABC's lawyers.
They will come forward to an in-camera meeting of council and they will ask for the taxpayers of Vancouver to cover the legal fees that ABC used to block the investigation by the Integrity Commissioner.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's outrageous.
There will be no consequences because it would be up to council to vote on any sanctions. With all the ABC members implicated, they're in a conflict and unable to participate. The non-ABC councillors do not meet the minimum quorum of 6 to bring it to a vote. Ben Milger, CTV News, Vancouver.
It was all smiles for ID photos, but for some students at LaSalle College, it's a disappointing day.
It does get a little frustrating sometimes when we're just trying to do our school. Yes, it is disappointing to be like, oh, I prepared for today and like, I'm ready, but...
While the campus was open, the normally busy student lounge was empty after the school made a last-minute decision not to hold classes.
We really found ourselves in a crisis situation. What will we tell the students?
The Quebec government is withholding $30 million in funding, saying under Bill 96, LaSalle College has too many students enrolled in English language programs, a move the school's director calls unjustified.
That government is disconnected from the full civil society. Teachers in public francophone schools feels targeted right now by the cuts of the government. Doctors, nurses feels targeted by the government. We do feel targeted by the government.
Claude Marchand says LaSalle College isn't admitting more students than it did before Bill 96 was passed, but the law affects the way they're counted.
Marchand says he's been reaching out to the Premier and the ministers responsible to try and negotiate, but hasn't heard back. He insists, though, the school is respecting the spirit of Bill 96.
We're not contesting the law. We're just really denouncing how they applied it.
CTV reached out to the Minister of Higher Education, who turned down our request for an interview. But in a post on Friday, Pascal Derry said it is unacceptable that the school is taking students hostage during the negotiation process. And LaSalle College is the only subsidized private school that for 2 years and with full knowledge defied the law, despite having close support and multiple warnings. Marchand counters he's been trying to discuss the matter with Quebec since 2021.
For those 4 years, the government never wanted to hear or discuss with us.
Marchand insists even with the financial hit, LaSalle College will stay open. But on the day that was supposed to be a start for some students, some are worried about how their academic careers here will end.
I was concerned, and we had a little bit of hesitation on, do we continue here? Will we have problems later?
Classes are now expected to start on Tuesday. Kelly Gregg, CTV News.
The Alberta government announced big plans for this area beside Rogers Place in its budget last February, working with the Oilers Sports and Entertainment Group on a plan to transform Fan Park into a $250 million event park.
A facility that will further allow us to attract more events and attract more people to live, work, and play downtown.
The event park is just one part of the proposal. It also includes money to put pipes and wires under the land north of Rogers Place, where the Oilers Group plans to build housing, plus millions more to demolish the Coliseum. City staff have been negotiating the deal for months, and the terms are now set. The province will put up $183 million. The city's portion is $138 million, with the Oilers contributing $87 million.
Our recommendation would be it's approving what is in front of you and not looking to renegotiate, as the timing just does not allow for that.
The deal is all or nothing. That includes parts of the deal council wasn't aware of until late last week, like allowing trade shows and conferences at the event park, which could take business away from the city's existing conference centers, plus soft language on housing requirements.
I'm frustrated because the whole point of this was to build housing. Now there's no legal requirement to build housing, and I cannot understand how we are okay with that.
All three parties signed a memorandum of understanding back in June that set September 1st as the deadline for the deal. Pressure many councillors believe is arbitrary.
When I look through the priorities that we looked at in our 4-year budget, an event park downtown was not one of them. This is not our idea. This is one business provider's idea.
We absolutely have a gun to our head. We've been held hostage throughout the entirety of this process because we've been unwilling to ever push back.
This really is a take it or leave it situation, and we have to respond to the situation that's in front of us.
Now that this deal is inked, the provincial grant money to fund all three of these projects can start flowing, and demolition on the Coliseum will likely begin sometime next year. There will also likely be a few hundred homes north of Rogers Place by 2028, with the event park coming online the year after that. Now, we did also hear from the Oilers Entertainment Group. A spokesperson there, Tim Shipton, says that the deal is a prime example of what can be accomplished when governments work with the private sector to ensure a prosperous and vibrant downtown. Jeff?
All right. Thank you, Jeremy. That's Jeremy Thompson live tonight.
14-year-old Brandon Schaefer Kovacs died at Jim Pattison Children's Hospital in November 2022 while he was under the care of the Ministry of Social Services and living at Eagle's Nest Youth Ranch. The boy's mom, Chantel Schaefer, was first to testify Monday, saying her son had mental health and physical challenges that required him to be under 24/7 care. More than a week before his death, Schaefer said her son seemed off and had a stomach ache. During a separate visit that week, she said her son was slumped over in bed slurring his words before he was sent to hospital without her knowledge. He would die there 3 days later. Schaefer says she was infrequently informed about her child's condition from group home staff and says she asked for him to go to hospital earlier and staff wouldn't respond. During her testimony, we learned Schaefer Kovacs had 16 appointments in 9 months for his mental health, pneumonia, asthma, and diet problems, some of which his mom knew about and some she found out about afterwards. A doctor testifying in the afternoon said Schaefer Kovacs died after getting infected with a combination of streptococcal pneumonia and influenza A, and said had Schaefer Kovacs come to hospital earlier, absolutely he would have had a better chance of living. A group home staff member testified Schaefer Kovacs asked staff to go to the hospital days earlier, and senior colleagues responded by saying the boy was playing up cold symptoms to get out of going to school. The inquest is expected to take at least 2 more days. Keenan Sora Khan, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Video shows a young man testing out the speed of a moving train in downtown London. Moments later, he returns and jumps on the side, riding it for a few meters.
They were taunting the train, basically, you know, tons and tons of heavy metal, and they were touching it and playing with it.
Christopher Bogle is often the eyes and ears in the city's core. He took out his camera and started recording.
They saw me filming. I even yelled out to the one guy, "You want to lose your leg or what? Or your life?" And he thought it was a joke.
The incident is the third notable one involving rail in the past week. A person was charged with surfing on a Via train in eastern Ontario. Then in White Rock, BC, video showed a woman and multiple children crawling under a stopped train rather than waiting.
Our mission in Operation Lifesaver is to try to get to zero. So 0 crossing incidents, 0 trespassing, 0 deaths, and 0 injuries. And unfortunately, we have some work to do to get to zero.
According to Operation Lifesaver, rail trespassing incidents are up 46% this year over the historical 5-year average. Serious injuries related to rail trespassing are up 250%. A CPKC spokesperson says fines could reach up to $50,000. And climbing and riding train cars and other equipment is both illegal and extremely dangerous. A month away from Rail Safety Week and just days from Western University students returning, safety advocates warn against trying to impress friends or gain social media clicks.
With frost weeks happening, we know that southwestern Ontario has a ton of rail and is a hot spot for incidents. So we are reminding people to do their part to stay safe by staying well back and staying off the tracks.
As for Bogle,
this is almost a deja vu a few years ago.
It was then when he witnessed a woman carry her child over a stop train at this same location. Both incidents could easily have been fatal.
When he did jump off, you could tell he sort of slipped a bit, and that would have been it.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
Through these security cameras at Voyage Funeral Home on Kirkfield Street, General Manager Michael Voyajakis can spot any trouble coming through the lens. What he didn't see coming, a ticket from the City of Winnipeg with a high price tag.
How do they pass a bylaw that nobody knows about?
Under a bulletin published in 2024, City of Winnipeg bylaws require businesses to have electrical permits for installations of alarm systems and closed-circuit television cameras. However, single-family detached homes are exempt. Voyajakis wonders why businesses need special permits.
It's a plug-and-play system, so it's no different than plugging your stereo into a wall. You plug in your speakers, you plug the stereo into the wall. It's low voltage, and it comes in a box. How's that a construction project?
Voyage Funeral Home isn't the only business asking questions. Don Woodstock from Jamrock Security says he's received a number of concerned calls over the past year from clients who also didn't know they needed a permit.
The news came to us because my electrical contractor informed me. But then I got inundated with calls after the fact and says, what's this about? What's this about? And the question starts coming.
Woodstock says the city needs to do a better job of getting the word out of these regulations.
If you walk down the street now and look up and you see a camera, walk in there and ask a business owner if they know if this exists, and they tell you no. 99% of them will say no. This is news to them.
No one from the city was available to speak to on camera. In a statement to CTV News, a spokesperson indicated these rules have been in place for some time. The information bulletin released on June 27, 2024 simply replaced the previous bulletin. No new requirements were published. For Voyajakis, the fine is another challenge he's faced with while running a small business.
Why are they trying to put back small businesses out of business? We should be working together as a team and making the city a vibrant city.
CTV News asked the city why homeowners can install these cameras without a permit, but businesses can't. We asked if there was a financial motivation behind the bylaw. The city didn't answer these questions.
All right, thanks for this, Joseph.